So this is a story called All's Fair about the dark powers fighting good and evil, trying to win out and then see what happens. The powers and influences personified, which I thought was a fun though not unusual idea. In a dark, dank cave, the dim glow of spent coals sent spiky shadows jerking across rough walls. The old forces sat in silence for a time, pondering the dismal morning to come. At last, however, one rose to her feet. "I have done my best," said Paine. "I have devised weapons that burn, that maim, that crush. My assistants, injury and torture, have worked without rest for decades. My creativity is at an end. I have no more ideas." She sat back down on her chair of nails. Power took her place with casual self-assurance. The humans refused to cooperate. For centuries I have tempted leaders, seduced them, blinded them to the light of wisdom. Now even the most venal no longer respond. They rule now in name only, obedient to their electorates. The natural order of the world is reversed. Poverty vaulted to his feet. "Don't look at me," he cried, though no one had. "I have done my utmost, as have my advisers, famine and disaster. I have caused at least as many deaths as has religion. I have done my part, but the humans have overcome my cleverest ploys. Let someone else carry the load from now on." He looked defiantly out at the group. "Sit down, you old fool," called Cruelty from the back. "I'm sick of hearing about you. You think no one else was working here. Spite and I may not be as obvious as you all, but we've done our part." As she looked around, a cold voice spoke up beside her, and Cruelty shrank back. "We have all done our part," said Fate in a near whisper. "The fact is that we have failed. Tomorrow's contest is a formality. We will lose. Love will win at last, and we will be at an end. It is over." They sat in silence once more. At last the elder shook his head and rose. Leaning heavily on his curved staff, he straightened his dark black robes carefully. "I sense the work of your assistant Despair in that speech, my friend. If only his words were still as effective with the humans as they are with us. We have overindulged, and the humans have developed tolerance, as the opposition might say." He looked around glumly. "Let us rest," he said at last. "Tomorrow is our final stand. We must make the worst of it. Spare no effort. Call out your strongest and your strangest aids. Let us see jealousy and envy, remorse and melancholy, rage and dissatisfaction, shame and anger, and all the others. Let there be no quarter." Across the land, in a grove of giant oaks, the forces of love celebrated, not awaiting the morning's formalities. Ecstasy danced in a meadow while sympathy looked blurrily on. Affection lay passed out behind a moss-softened boulder on which kindness and joy snuggled unashamed. Peace looked on with a smile. The morning would be soon enough to call them to their senses. They were strong enough now to win the final battle, even groggy and hungover. Death and all his crew would put up a struggle, but the outcome was not in doubt. She would win at last and put an end to millennia of pain and darkness. The mortals would live in peace at last. War would be unemployed, and love would reign supreme. Nestled in a dark, dank alley between the armies, two couples met for dinner. In small talk, they discussed the day's events and toasted the coming end of war and rise of love. On this night, sorrow and heartbreak could not eat. Their sumptuous diet, once fresh and intriguing, had palled over the ages, and they soon made their good nights. Hungry but excited, they lay down behind a dumpster to dream of the morrow's new palette of flavors. Behind them, apathy and ignorance sat down to eat as if nothing had changed. So it started as an optimistic story in which, of course, love conquers all, but I did put in a cautionary note at the end: apathy and ignorance. But let's hope that in this case, in this crisis, love does win.